welcome to the first ever episode of Overanalyzing Great Movies. Today we will be looking at The Shining. Now, before we get started, I'd like to say a couple of things. First, yes, spoilers are coming. Second, we are discussing the 1980 Stanley Kubrick film here, not the Stephen King novel or the miniseries. As usual with Stanley Kubrick projects, he really went in his own direction when it came to making this movie. So, for the purposes of this video, we will be assuming that his movie took place in a universe apart from the novel or the miniseries, so evidence from them will not be considered. One of the biggest criticisms about this movie is Jack Nicholson's over-the-top performance. People say that The Shining is supposed to be the story of a normal, everyday, loving father who slowly goes insane due to the circumstances around him. Nicholson felt like an axe murderer the second we met him. This has led many people, including Stephen King himself, to say that Jack Nicholson was a horrible miscast in the role, but I'm not sure I buy this. Jack Nicholson is actually a pretty darn good actor. He's been nominated for 12 Academy Awards, and while he might be best known for his ridiculous, over-the-top portrayals, he has played some much more believable characters too. I suspect that if he wanted to play just a normal dad at the beginning of the movie, he could have done it, or at least could have done a much better job than he did. I don't think he was ever trying to, because I don't think that was the point of the movie. Danny, his son, has all the hallmarks of being an abused child. He's completely isolated and alone. He lives in a fantasy world with his imaginary friend Tony. At the beginning of the movie, they discuss an incident where his father broke his arm. From the beginning of the film onward, Jack verbally berates both Danny and his wife Wendy. There's also strong evidence that Jack knew about the murders that took place in the hotel long before the movie started. When he's first told about the murders, he doesn't seem remotely surprised. Even if he was the most secular, non-superstitious person in the world, you'd think that he would be a little weirded out by the fact that he would be spending the whole winter in a hotel where a famous killing happened. I'm not saying he'd turn down the job because of it, but he would be a little taken aback by learning that fact. As it is, he doesn't seem remotely upset about it. Later, when he meets Grady's ghost, he immediately recognizes him as Grady, saying, "I saw your picture in the newspaper." That means he was aware of the Grady murders, and paid enough attention to them that he could recognize Grady's ghost years later. How many serial killers could you recognize if you saw their ghost? This implies to me that Jack was not only fully aware of these murders when he took the job, he also was a little obsessed with them. Maybe the whole reason he went to stay at the Overlook Hotel was because this is where these murders happened. It seems random that a school teacher from Vermont would wind up looking after a hotel for the winter in Colorado. In the age before the internet, where would he even find such a job? He really would have had to seek it out. This to me poses the question, what if Jack was planning to murder his family and recreate the Grady murders all along? Why would he do this? Well, one possible answer is that he clearly isn't very happy with his family. Maybe reading about the Grady murders gave him inspiration. I mean, what could be a better place to murder your family than an isolated hotel in the middle of nowhere, knowing that there's no one around for miles? He also would have tons of wilderness to dispose of the bodies. He could easily make the murders look like an accident in the heavy storms that come. And if the police ever did catch on to him, he could plead insanity, and people would likely believe that he was insane just like they believed Grady was insane. That would be the non-superstitious answer. The more superstitious answer is that Jack made some sort of deal to kill his family and possibly himself too. When Jack is talking to Grady's ghost and to Wendy, he routinely talks about a deal. Sometimes even a contract. Now we assume that this is a deal or contract he made with Ullman to look after the hotel for the winter. But why would he take a winter's job so seriously when his family was possibly in danger? Perhaps he's talking about something else. Pay attention to the words he says right before Lloyd's ghost first appears before him in the gold room. "I would give my goddamn soul for a drink right now." Some people have added all this up to say that Jack made some sort of Faustian bargain with the devil. I would be more inclined to believe that he made some sort of deal with the spirits of the hotel. He seems well familiar with the spirits of the hotel before he even meets them. He doesn't seem remotely surprised when Lloyd appears in front of him, and even seems to know Lloyd's name. He seems to have done his research on what goes on in this hotel. And of course he lies about what he's seen to Wendy. He claims that there is no woman in the bath who assaulted Danny when he saw her himself. We know Jack has had thoughts about hurting his family from a couple of scenes. One, Danny, with his shining ability, can sense that his father wants to hurt him, in the scene where he asks his father if he would ever hurt him. Jack also has a dream about killing his family. The weird thing about getting killed in the Overlook Hotel is that you seem to stay there as a ghost forever if that happens. We know that Grady's whole family is there. He says so in one of the scenes. We meet his daughters, we meet him, and some people have suspected that the woman in the bath was his wife, although this is never explicitly stated in the movie, and there are alternative theories too. We also know that Jack wants his family to stay in the hotel forever and ever and ever. He uses the exact same words that the Grady twins use. Perhaps the deal is that he will kill his family, and then himself, and they can stay in the hotel forever, just like the Gradys did. And maybe the photograph at the end of the movie is an indication that Jack did succeed in joining the spirits forever, and that he's now a part of the permanent 1920s style party that goes on in the Gold Room. Why would the spirits want to take in the Torrance family? The best explanation would be that they wanted Danny because of his shining ability. This would explain why Jack was so much more fixated on killing Danny than he was on Wendy. In fact, once he saw that Danny was not in the bathroom with Wendy, he lost all interest in Wendy altogether, and solely pursued Danny to his death. Of course, the spirits got what they want, with a Shiner dying at the hotel. It's just that it was Dick Halloran instead of Dan. Maybe this is why Wendy and Danny were able to escape once Halloran was dead. The spirits of the hotel had gotten what they wanted. All of this would be supported by a conversation which happened between Stanley Kubrick and Stephen King. Kubrick, an atheist, apparently asked King if he thought it was optimistic to believe in the supernatural and to believe in ghosts, because that meant that there was a life after death. If you view The Shining as a movie about a man's slow descent into madness, then you'll probably feel that it was a poorly made and poorly acted movie. But if you think about it as a film about a man attempting to commit premeditated murders as an attempt to join the occult, it all of a sudden makes a lot more sense. So that's my theory about The Shining. Of course, as with any Stanley Kubrick movie, there are many theories out there.